All right, this is your 49ers alarm update, wrapping up what happened yesterday. I'm sure all of you are already aware. That's why I gave it a little bit more space this morning. Not all too many 49ers moves, except for the big splash later in the day. Mac Jones, and I get it, the football gods do have a sense of humor. That's literally the headline of my article up on the San Francisco Standard, available in the description. We had a good laugh about it. We can continue having several good laughs about it just because everything has come full circle. It is almost as if the NFL writers have a script that they're working on. I get it. I remember 4 years ago, the jersey behind me, that's there because this YouTube channel started in 2021. The reason I started this is because I thought that the narrative was ridiculous. I knew the 49ers weren't going to pick Mac Jones in 2021. I said they're going to pick Trey Lance, and I was upset that my voice was being drowned out by all of social media in saying that. So I made a YouTube channel in 2021 saying that they weren't going to pick Mac Jones, and obviously they didn't pick Mac Jones. 4 years later, he is the backup to Brock Purdy. It's hilarious on many different levels. The memes were all funny online, but now the grown-ups have to come back to the table, and I've already seen some absolute stupidity online. No, Brock Purdy's status is not affected by Mac Jones at all. Like 100%. Did you think the 49ers weren't going to sign a backup quarterback? Did you think they were going to go into the season with Brock Purdy and Tanner Mordecai as the only quarterbacks on the depth chart? If you thought that, then you don't know how football rosters are constructed, so your opinion should not be relevant in this matter. But Brock Purdy is one of the best in the game. Hands down, period. No questions asked. Anybody who is saying otherwise doesn't understand the game, doesn't understand results, doesn't understand the whole meritocracy of football and what Brock Purdy has done over the course of his first 3 years in the league. And the truth of the matter is that Mac Jones has been one of the worst starters in the game. That doesn't mean that Mac Jones is incapable of being a good backup. In fact, he might be the ideal backup for the 49ers. This could be the perfect move at QB2, because I do think that Mac Jones brings a floor to the quarterback position that you do like in the backup position, but he doesn't bring the ceiling that Brock Purdy does. These two quarterbacks are very different as far as their skill sets go. Brock Purdy is very athletic. He moves very well. He's one of the more mobile quarterbacks in the game. Tremendous upside with the 10-yard split that we talked about for Brock Purdy over the years. He can obviously air it out. He has aired it out for the 49ers. He had one of the highest average depths of target in the league last season, whereas Mac Jones is strictly a pocket quarterback, doesn't bring that upside. The reason why the 49ers did not draft Mac at number 3 in 2021 is because they're looking to move into the new age of quarterbacks, guys who could beat you with their legs and with their arm, and obviously stay healthy while doing so. That was the big issue with Jimmy Garoppolo, especially after the ACL tear. 2017, Jimmy could move a little bit, right? We saw him running around back there, escaping the defensive ends, occasionally escaping the linebackers. He, over that 5-game stretch, was the most efficient quarterback in football. But then Garoppolo tore his ACL week 3, 2018 in Kansas City. Seems that all the cataclysmic 49ers events have come against the Chiefs over the course of the past decade or so. But tore his ACL. Well, even when he came back, even though Jimmy was efficient, he wasn't as mobile as he was before. So the ceiling was lower for Jimmy Garoppolo. And I think because the mobility wasn't what it was before, he started getting hurt repeatedly. He wasn't able to get away, get out of dodge in the pocket as much as he was able to get out of dodge back in 2017 and before then. And the 49ers needed more quarterback reliability. They saw 2021 as their opportunity to take a big swing at the position, and they did take a huge swing at the position. Now, that's the area for criticism, not just in as far as dealing with the quarterback spot, but also in as far as building a whole team goes. They traded essentially 3 first-round picks for Trey Lance, and the downstream effects of that have been very damaging for the 49ers, because not only did they miss out on Trey Lance, obviously. He didn't become their starting quarterback, but they also saw disastrous returns in the 2022 and 2023 drafts, which is directly related to a lot of the extra spending that they had to do in free agency, which is directly related to the team paring down right now in 2025. But that's a team building discussion that we've been having throughout all these shows. Right now, at least, I'm going to focus on the quarterback position. And we all know what happened after Lance flamed out. Brock Purdy took his job from pick number 262 and delivered the most efficient football, has delivered the most efficient football of any quarterback in the NFL since his arrival in the league. I mean, the x-axis here is accuracy, completion percentage above expectation. The y-axis here is expected points added per play. You cannot argue with the results that Brock Purdy has brought to the table, period. I mean, he has been the most efficient quarterback in football ever since joining. I put this at minimum 1,299 plays because Purdy has 1,299 dropbacks on his resume so far in the league. Allen has been number 2. Mahomes has been number 3. Whether you like it or not, Brock Purdy has been at the top in terms of efficiency. And you don't get into that position unless you're a really damn good quarterback. If you want to zoom in more on the data behind just the QB, well, QBR is probably going to be your most isolating stat. Purdy was number 1 in 2023 when everything mostly was going right around him, except for the pass protection. It ranked number 26. In 2024, Purdy dropped only to number 7. So even in a season where things weren't going well around Brock Purdy, he was still number 7 in QBR. I think people need to realize that. If you want to compare this to Mac Jones, well, you'll find Mac Jones's dot in the bottom left. He hadn't been good. Now, I completely get that Mac Jones has been in some bad situations. In 2021, as a rookie, he saw his best situation. The Patriots had a solid defense. They were able to run the football, and they went to the playoffs. But even in that year, it wasn't like Mac was a world beater. He was at 6.2 adjusted net yards per attempt. Brock Purdy, as a rookie, pick number 262. Remember, Mac was a first rounder. Purdy is a rookie, just like Mac was a rookie in 2021. The next year, Purdy was well over 7 adjusted net yards per attempt. That's going to include interceptions, touchdowns, yards per attempt, sack yardage. It encapsulates a lot of what a quarterback needs to be doing on an efficiency basis in one stat. So even Jones's best season was significantly worse than Purdy's rookie season. And they're both rookies, so you got a little bit of an apples-to-apples comparison. Jones then went on a steep decline. And I think that when we talk about Mac Jones being in bad situations, Matt Patricia, a defensive mind, was his offensive coordinator in 2022. I don't know what that was all about, but it obviously hurt Mac Jones. He had a high sack rate that season, 7.1% in 2022. The adjusted net yards per attempt started to get bad that year, down to 5.4. And then it got atrocious in 2023 when he was benched after 11 games, down to 4.5. If you guys want to see the statistics, I can show them to you right now. This is the column I'm looking at. The cursor is over it. 2021, all right, not bad. He was voted to the Pro Bowl. He shouldn't have been a Pro Bowl quarterback, though, in 2021. I mean, if you talk about a team carrying him, if you talk about game manager, that's what he was doing in 2021. He wasn't raising the ceiling of the New England Patriots. And then things just went downhill for Mac Jones, to the point where they traded him to Jacksonville. Apparently, the 49ers tried to trade for him to be their backup last season. That's what Tom Pelissero said. But he was under 5 adjusted net yards per attempt in each of the last 2 seasons. He actually had to play a little bit in Jacksonville last year because Trevor Lawrence was concussed after the Azeez Al-Shire play. But it just hadn't been good for Mac Jones, to the point where he's in the Sam Darnold role now. Sam, first round pick, higher upside than Mac Jones, right? He was the number 3 overall pick by the Jets. Spent his rookie contract with two different teams with the Jets, then traded to the Carolina Panthers. Unremarkable play over those 4 years. And then he signs with the 49ers, works under Brock Purdy, rehabilitates his image and his career. A couple years later, he has signed for $100 million with the Seattle Seahawks. Congratulations to Sam. That's what we call the 49ers QB rehab program. I got to put that down on the screen. The 49ers QB rehab program. Boom. Come on. Adding the text title. There we go. Sam Darnold, successful graduate of the 49ers QB rehab program. That's exactly where Mac Jones is now. Nothing more, nothing less. He has a chance to rehabilitate his image enough to maybe go be a bridge starter somewhere. And then once you're a bridge starter somewhere, you can do what Sam Darnold did. You could lead your team to a good record and earn big money elsewhere. Now, Darnold was on his way to a contract of over $50 million a year until the last couple games didn't go very well for him. Right. One against the Detroit Lions in the finale, followed by the playoff game against the Rams. So that limited Darnold's ceiling to about, what was it, $33 million a year. So he's in tier 2 quarterback money, not tier 1 quarterback money, but good for Sam. It's a lot better than where he was before he joined the 49ers QB rehab program. But Mac Jones is now in his former spot. So I can acknowledge that he was in some bad situations. I think everybody can acknowledge that. But we also need to acknowledge that Brock Purdy is really damn good. And anybody suggesting that this is some kind of competition or that, one of the worst quarterbacks in the league efficiency-wise over the past 4 can hold a candle to one of literally the best from an efficiency perspective. That's not saying that Purdy is the most talented QB in the league. That I think definitely belongs to either Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes. But anybody suggesting that this is more than just a QB2 signing is idiotic when they come to their takes of football. They probably also said that Trey Lance would beat out Brock Purdy in 2023. So let that sink in. If anybody was telling you that Trey Lance would beat out Brock Purdy in 2023, their football expertise and credibility has been completely shot and it's sunk to the bottom of the ocean. It just doesn't exist anymore. And it's probably why people don't watch their channel at all. So, QB2 is a very specific role. It is a high floor role. That's what you need at QB2 that is there to bridge the gap in case QB1 gets hurt. The 49ers know the need of QB2 probably better than any other team in the league just through bad experience, right? They had a horrific experience in Philadelphia at the NFC Championship game to end their 2022 season. Brock Purdy got hurt. And, I want to also emphasize that they were very snake bit in 2022. Purdy started the year as QB3. You could even argue that he started as QB4 in training camp, but then they traded Nate Sudfeld. So Purdy made the 53-man roster, but he's either QB3 or 4, but by the end of the year, he was starting for San Francisco. Then he tore up his elbow against the Philadelphia Eagles. And at that point, the 49ers had to go to Josh Johnson. As soon as we saw Josh Johnson play in that game, we said, okay, yeah, they're probably not winning this. Who knows? Had Mac Jones been the 49ers QB2 back in 2022, they would have had a fighting chance, especially given the way that Christian McCaffrey was playing. Josh Johnson obviously was concussed in that game, and then the 49ers literally went to McCaffrey as their QB on a snap or two. And Brock Purdy had to come in with his torn elbow, and he couldn't throw an overhand pass in that football game. So they got blown out by the Eagles, and they learned by experience that you better have a really strong backup. Wasn't really their fault that they didn't have a stronger backup that year because they had already had so many backups hurt. Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance were both hurt in that 2022 season. So quarterback 2 is needed to bridge the gap with a higher floor player than somebody like Josh Johnson. that hurt the 49ers in 2022. It's as simple as that. And I think that when you look at Mac Jones' skill set, his ability to distribute the football, I mean, just watch his tape at Alabama. He had a super team around him. So the talent level around him was greater than, anyone that the Alabama Crimson Tide were playing. And he was able to sit back in the pocket, distribute the football, threw decently accurately, in college very accurately, and Alabama rolled. At the time when we were watching him, we all said, okay, but his ceiling at the NFL level is going to be limited because he can't move. And the windows that he's going to be throwing into are going to be much tighter. He's going to have to be throwing with even greater anticipation. So he can execute the system at a decent level, but he's not going to raise the profile of the system, raise the potential of the offense at any significant level because he doesn't have the off-schedule ability. And I thought when I was watching him at Alabama, he was throwing to a lot of guys who were wide open. I wasn't sure if he had the anticipation, the touch to really, really deliver at the NFL level. At a QB1, this guy's going to make the offense a historically good offense. And that you always, when you're taking a big swing in the first round on a quarterback, you want somebody with that ceiling. So Purdy obviously has that. I mean, we've already seen it from Brock Purdy. We can look at every single statistic. We'll go to Ben Baldwin's website now. Brock Purdy, this is ever since 2021. The EPA and the CPOE composite is literally number one. Look at the top four on this list. Purdy, Allen, Mahomes, Burrow. You only make it to the top of this list if you know what you are doing and if you can execute at the quarterback position. Now, we can sort it by different things, like EPA per play, number one. Success rate, number one. Completion percentage over expectation, number 5. Geno Smith has a really good CPOE. That's something that we noted a little bit earlier this offseason, but he's not as efficient, which means he's not managing the game as effectively as the guys at the very top of this list. Purdy, Allen, Mahomes. Tua deserves some respect, although he has been obviously very limited by those concussions. Joe Burrow in the top 5 of this list. I mean, it's clear as day that Brock Purdy is a franchise quarterback, and the 49ers know that. They're going to pay him this offseason. If you want to compare it to where Mac Jones is, he's all the way down here. So there's going to be an idiotic discussion over the course of probably the next year, but I think that a lot of it will be quelled when Brock Purdy actually signs the contract. Do not let that idiotic discussion seep into anything. It is what it is. It's noise in the NFL media. I think that what happened yesterday showed us that the football gods do have a sense of humor. And I think it's going to be really fun to watch a Brock Purdy, Mac Jones quarterback room work, just like we saw the Brock Purdy, Sam Darnold quarterback room work. I mean, there were people who thought that Sam Darnold was going to lose to Trey Lance in the quarterback battle, and it wasn't even close. Darnold beat out Lance, and I think now you can see, and there are people still today that probably think that it was rigged or something. Yeah, one of those quarterbacks has a $100 million contract. Another one is still a free agent. And the one that has the $100 million contract is Sam Darnold. So Darnold, obviously better than Lance, beat him out in 2023. That's the year that everybody, not everybody, many people's credibility was shot. So now we can talk about Purdy being the one earning the massive contract and Mac Jones being in that QB2 role, just like Sam Darnold was in 2023. And if this goes the way that Jones wants it to go, then he'll get an opportunity just like Sam Darnold did with the Minnesota Vikings in 2024. It is as simple as that. Mike says the Mac is pretty smooth with his tennis background. Great feet. Yeah, he's got good feet in the pocket. He's not He can move within the pocket decently well. It's something that we said about Brady, obviously, but Brady couldn't really move in terms of bursts out of the pocket. The pocket movement of Mac Jones gives him the NFL floor that I think the 49ers and Kyle Shanahan really likes at the QB2 position. The burst of Brock Purdy gives Purdy the ceiling that you would want out of a QB1. And in this day and age, the ceiling is so important because quarterback is getting paid so much at the QB1 rate. Mac Jones is making $5 million guaranteed with the 49ers. 2 years, $7 million, so 3.5 per year, but $5 million guaranteed. But at QB1, you need the ceiling. And the ceiling comes through extending plays. And yeah, you can extend plays slightly with the footwork in the pocket. That helps. That's often the difference between a sack and being able to release the ball in the NFL. But if you truly want to up the ceiling of the offense, you need to be able to run a little bit, and you need to know when to run and when not to run. And I think that's something that Brock Purdy is physically capable of doing, extending the play on a burst basis. And Mac Jones just isn't, right? I mean, these are differing physical skill sets between these two players. So the tennis background of Mac Jones, though, is, I think, a great call out by Mike. He's texting this to me as we speak, because the tennis background does allow him to have the footwork within the context of the pocket that does raise the floor to the point where he's not going to be a Brandon Allen back there. Remember Brandon Allen against the Packers last year? I mean, he was a sitting duck in the pocket. There's a reason why he was lower level backup quarterback. So the 49ers have raised the profile of the backup quarterback position with Mac Jones in this instance, because Mac is semi-mobile in the pocket. He doesn't have the burst, but he has the movement ability. Brandon Allen for the 49ers didn't have that movement ability. Then you had Josh Dobbs last year, who I think had more of a burst than a subtle pocket movement ability. I think Dobbs and Brandon Allen were the opposite. The best of both worlds is if the quarterback can do both of those things. If he can move within the pocket subtly, that's something that Brock Purdy has gotten better at over his 3 years in the NFL. And if he can execute the sprints when he needs to. It's more important that you could run in a 10-yard burst as a QB than in a 40-yard dash, because you're rarely going to be running around 40 yards behind the line of scrimmage in a straight line. But you are going to be moving around in 5 to 10-yard bursts if you're rolling out, if you're trying to buy a little extra time, if you're trying to get away from a blitzing linebacker or a blitzing safety, especially with the pressure packages that defensive coordinators are bringing these days. You see what Steve Spagnuolo is doing in Kansas City, but Brian Flores in Minnesota. Aggressive pressure packages are coming that offensive schemes and offensive lines aren't necessarily ready to pick up at all times. And that means that the quarterback's going to have to think on his feet and then run on his feet, right? It's not just about reacting mentally to hard charging nickel back or safety coming in. It's also about reacting physically. And you're going to need to get from 0 to 60 in a split second as a QB. And that's one of Brock Purdy's superpowers. One is the processing, the other is the 10-yard split. And that's something that Mac Jones doesn't have. And I think that's a very clear delineation between the two quarterbacks. Plus, I mean, what Purdy has done over the course of the first 3 years in terms of processing power has far outpaced anything that we've seen from Mac Jones on the field. But Shanahan sees the potential, again, for Mac Jones to be that higher floor option for the 49ers at QB. A lot of talk right now. I know this is the 49ers alarm update. This is your 20 to 30 minute look. I know we've been doing 15 minutes and an upload the past couple of days. Today we went live with it since it wasn't that busy of a day of news for the 49ers yesterday. But we're going to have more of these to help encapsulate what happened the day before, give you guys a rundown, prepare you for the next day of free agency. The new league year started yesterday. That meant that a group of players who previously weren't available became available, like Dalvin Tomlinson, the former Browns defensive tackle, had been with Minnesota, had been with the New York Giants. Dalvin Tomlinson signed with the Arizona Cardinals. I know I did a whole show yesterday talking about the fact the 49ers haven't signed any defensive linemen yet, and the thinnest position on this football team right now is defensive tackle. Dalvin Tomlinson, I thought, would have been the war daddy type that could have shepherded along some of the 49ers' younger additions, which we presume are coming in the NFL draft. But the 49ers did not sign Dalvin Tomlinson. He went to the Arizona Cardinals for quite a bit of money. And I wonder what the 49ers' plan is moving forward. I'm sitting back. I'm observing. This is curiosity from me. I know that the defensive tackle class is extremely deep. It's a foregone conclusion at this point that the 49ers are going to add big there through the NFL draft. But I will still maintain that a veteran addition can really help the 49ers bridge the gap. I completely understand why they released Malik Collins, why they released Leonard Floyd, because those guys were being paid fairly large chunks of money. I mean, it's about $10 million of cap savings in the case of both of those players, 8 for Floyd and 10 for Malik Collins, and they weren't delivering good run defense. And the 49ers were the number 29 run defense last year. You can't just run it back after you went 6-11. So I understand those releases, though they were not fitting the 49ers mold of cost efficiency since there were glaring weaknesses with both of those players. But my personal take on how to best rebuild the team moving forward on the draft-oriented basis is that you've got to mix and match some of the younger players with true veteran leadership. And right now, if we look at the 49ers roster, I have the A-list pillars shaded in yellow. I truly believe that the goal is to have every single position have a guy shaded in yellow as an A-list pillar. So, for example, receiver currently is missing one. Brandon Ayuk probably will have a chance to grab that back if the 49ers don't trade him. That is a gaping question for San Francisco, though, because they paid Ayuk with the intention of him becoming an A-list pillar for this team, shaded in yellow on this depth chart, and he currently has not earned that designation. I think you need 2 along the offensive line. 49ers have 1 right now with Trent Williams, and I think you need 2 on the defensive line. They have 1, obviously, with Nick Bosa. Preferably have 1 at defensive end, 1 at defensive tackle. So maybe you draft a defensive tackle that immediately becomes an A-list pillar. Jalen Carter did that for the Philadelphia Eagles. But I, would think that maybe the gap is easier to bridge if you bring in somebody like Dalvin Tomlinson, obviously not a possibility anymore. Calais Campbell is available at age 38. 1-year deal for Calais Campbell. He was in Mike McDaniel's team last year, so that's a coaching staff that it's obviously related to the 49ers. He's been viewed as a glue piece throughout his entire NFL career, and he's a durable type of player. Calais Campbell is savvy. And I think I still remember watching the game last year on the final drive where Jake Brendel was unable to pick up the game with Calais Campbell and the other Miami defensive linemen up front. So Campbell just roped right around Jake Brendel and drilled Brock Purdy. That was the game-ending interception. I think Holland intercepted the football. That play was fascinating to me because I was talking to Dominic Pooney about it in the locker room. Campbell, he was saying Campbell just knows the timing. He knows the rhythm. He knows tendencies from opposing offensive lines. I mean, he is one of the savviest vets there is out there. It's not all about brute force when you're rushing the quarterback, especially when a lot of these stunt moves are happening. A lot of it is about deception. And Jake Brendel just didn't register Calais Campbell at all as he stunted around, and he runs right by Jake Brendel's left shoulder and drills Brock Purdy within 2 or 3 seconds. I mean, it was probably less than 3 seconds between snap, stunt, blow by of Jake Brendel, and the hit on the quarterback. An interior pressure that's not picked up at all like that, I mean, it's unbeatable. No quarterback's going to beat it. You have to have at least a little bit of a chip in there, like something to slow him down. I watched that play and I was amazed by Calais Campbell, this guy who's running up near 40 years old. Obviously, he's not in his physical prime anymore, but he still plays the run well, which I think is really important. But he's near 40 years old, and he's been able to take the tricks of the trade that he's learned over, almost 2 decades in the NFL, like 14, 15 years in the NFL. He's been able to take all of those, put them in his tool belt, and then he uses them whenever he needs to. And the nuances that he plays with could be nuances that he teaches younger players. I thought the same thing, by the way, about Dalvin Tomlinson. I think that he's just more of a robust fire hydrant run stuffer type. So he's with the Cardinals now. Calais Campbell is a longer player, but he can play inside and out. I just think when I look at the 49ers roster and I look at A-list pillars, you're not only looking for A-list play from the guys shaded in yellow, you're looking for leadership to be able to pass on tricks of the trade, example, culture. You're looking for them to shepherd the other players around them. So the pieces at the margins learn from the pieces highlighted in yellow. And Bosa is a great resource for whoever the 49ers bring in at edge rusher / defensive end. But the 49ers don't have somebody at this very moment to do that at defensive tackle. And, I thought Dalvin Tomlinson, 31-year-old, might be that piece. Calais Campbell, he's 38, but as I just illustrated, he's still a free agent right now. But as I just illustrated, he has shown the veteran savvy. That's how he's been in the league for so long, that I think would be invaluable, not only to whoever the 49ers draft, but to Kevin Givens, Evan Anderson, Kalia Davis, Jordan Elliott, whoever the 49ers keep at this defensive tackle position. So that's my 2 cents on it. I don't think the 49ers need a superstar. I think they might draft a superstar. I think that's going to be really important for this football team as they move forward through this roster reset. It's not a rebuild if you keep all these pillars, but it's a reset around them. And if they add somebody who can help shepherd along the lifeblood of what this is going to be built of, and that is the draft picks, I think that can really help them entering the NFL draft. That's my 2 cents. If you agree with it, you could drop that in the comments section. What I see right now from the 49ers is a plan that is following the Rams progression. Let's talk about the Rams model for a second. This, I think, is a good summary of all that's happening, because everybody's all up in arms on social media. It's like, what are the 49ers doing? Well, look at what the Rams did. I know I've talked about this several times, but now I'm going to talk about the results of what the Rams have put on tape over the past few years. 2021, the Rams won the Super Bowl. They were 12-5. We remember that. They won the Super Bowl. They won the division. 49ers beat them twice in the regular season, but lost to them in the NFC Championship game. All of a sudden in 2022, the year after winning the Super Bowl, after going all in to win the Super Bowl, the Rams dropped to 5-12, a worse record than the 49ers had in 2024. So think about that for a bit. I hope you can see the parallels already. The 49ers went whatever they did in 2023. How many? I think they went 13-4. 12-5 or 13-4 that year, whatever. They went all the way to the Super Bowl. They went all the way to overtime of the Super Bowl, and they came up just short. They unfortunately did not win like the Rams did in 2021, but they came up just short. And in 2024, the 49ers paid for it. They went 6-11. So the Rams, in a very similar way, although they won the Super Bowl, that was nice for their fans, that's for sure. They went 5-12 the year after. Following that 2022 season, the Rams released or traded several high-profile players. That included Jalen Ramsey, Leonard Floyd, Allen Robinson, their punter, Riley Dixon, their kicker, Matt Gay, their safeties, Taylor Rapp and Nick Scott, linebacker Bobby Wagner, and defensive linemen Ashawn Robinson and Greg Gaines. It was a massive, massive exodus of players for the Rams after the 2022 season that saw them go 5-12. So they went all in. Going all in actually put the Rams in a worse cap situation. They were in literal cap hell. 49ers are just in a very high cash spend situation that they're trying to restrain before it turns into a problematic salary cap situation. Cash and cap are related, but they're also different. So the Rams pulled back, let a bunch of guys go, traded players, just like the 49ers are right now. They did that between 2022 and 2023, and they came out of it better. They were 10-7 in 2023. Still remember, entering 2023, everybody's saying, oh, the Rams, they've let everybody go. It's a bunch of young guys. This is not going to be good. They came out and they won their first game in Seattle. That was the big Puka Nacua game. You guys remember that? Week 1, 2023, Puka Nacua shows up, and I think it was 200-plus receiving yards. It was a massive game for a rookie, and people were like, oh, boy, but the Rams might have something cooking here. Unfortunately for them, the defense wasn't great yet because they had bled all that talent defensively. But 2 straight draft classes, 2023 and 2024, 2 big draft classes for the Rams. Mike, if you have the draft classes for the Rams those 2 years, can you send me the list? We'll put it up on the screen. 2 really big draft classes were successful and turned the Rams defense into, by the end of the 2024 season, a an effective unit, especially as far as pass rushing when you talk about Jared Verse and guys like that, but turned it into an effective unit that was good enough to make a playoff push. And I mean, they were in the playoffs both of those years. That they were, if the 49ers can follow the same model as the Rams did from 2022 to 2023, they could be right back in the postseason contending this next year, which is all you can really do over the long run in the NFL, is be a contender every single season and then hope that the cards line up in your favor in any given playoff run, because the margins in the league are very, very thin. So you just got to give yourself a chance on a year in to year out basis. And then when you do feel that you're really close, you try to kick the door down. So you go back to the Rams in 2021. They were the best defense in the league in 2020. They're in the postseason. They felt they were really close, so they went all in. They traded for Matthew Stafford. They ended up trading for Von Miller. They went Odell Beckham Jr. came over to the Rams in 2021. That was the all-in season. They mortgaged the future, but they were able to bounce back very quickly after the 5-12 season. So the way I see it is that the 49ers right now are the 2022 Rams. They're coming off of the 2022 Rams season at 6-11, but obviously without the Super Bowl. That's what's made the 49ers past 5 or 6 years so heartbreaking, is that they've gotten within a play of winning the Super Bowl, but they haven't actually done it. But from a team building standpoint, the roster cap cash mechanics, they're the same as they were with the Rams. They're the same for San Francisco. So now they've got to come out of this with a deep house cleaning, but not one that removes the true pillars. You're only removing guys who aren't playing up to their contracts. You're only letting guys walk who are earning money that would not be efficient for your football team. You're doing this deep house cleaning and you're rebuilding through the draft, just like the Rams did. Let's take a look at those Rams draft classes. Mike just sent it to me. Get this up on the screen and continue talking about the Los Angeles Rams model, because I think this is absolutely imperative if you want to summarize what the 49ers have been doing over the course of this offseason so far. So 2023 draft, look how big the 2023 draft was for the Rams. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 players drafted in 2023. That is a big draft class. Look why spy in that draft class right here. You see this? That's Trey Tomlinson. He's on the 49ers now. He was a 6th round pick in the 2023 draft. He's a corner for the 49ers, who I think they're really excited about. He's small. He's 5'8", 177, but he's a dog, the type of corner that's worked in the 49ers system. So obviously the 49ers have been watching the Rams draft classes because they claimed one of their players off of waivers. But anyway, 14-player draft class, including an interior offensive lineman, Steve Avila, Byron Young, who's turned into a good edge rusher for the team, Kobe Turner, interior defensive lineman. There's Stetson Bennett. Almost forgot about him. As you can tell, not everybody on here is a hit, but they had 14. So it's the shotgun approach. You feel that you're going to hit with a handful, and they did. The big hit in that 2023 draft is right here, is Puka Nacua for the Rams. Then you move on to 2024. They went to Florida State to get both Jared Verse and Braden Fisk. So you had 2 really good defensive linemen in 2024 who really blossomed by the end of the season. You move further down. They got a kicker. They drafted a kicker, but not with a 3rd rounder in Joshua Carty. Defensive line depth in the middle for the Rams. And then Bo Limmer, he actually started at center against the 49ers in a game the Rams won back in week 3 of the 2024 season. That was a disaster for the 49ers. So here you have it. You have 2 massive draft classes. This 2023 one was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Wait, I lost count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 49ers have an 11-pick class coming up. So it's 10 plus 14. The Rams drafted 24 players over the course of the past 2 seasons. The 49ers have 11 picks entering this 2025 draft. If we're going to compare this to the Rams timeline, the 49ers going 6-11 in 2024 is like the Rams 22 season. So the 49ers could be coming out of this in 2023 with a winning record this next year, featuring a heavy contribution from draft picks. That is the model. That is the plan. The Eagles have done something similar. The Buffalo Bills have also shed a lot of salary. That's why I talk about cost efficiency being the long-term way of success in the NFL. The NFL draft is the lifeblood in this league. There was 4 pillars that I talked about the 49ers needing to get better at: run defense, run blocking, separation, and special teams. And this is a different lens to view the roster improvement project through, but I think that it helps a lot of people visualize what the 49ers do need to do to field a better football team next year. All 4 of those things were terrible for San Francisco last season. Run defense was number 29. Run offense, or the ability, and it's a very specific run offense. I could give 2 separate stats, though. The ability to convert third or fourth down and less than 2 yards, the 49ers were number 31, second worst in the league. So their run offense was terrible. The success rate was embarrassing for San Francisco, and it wouldn't be fitting of a team that could do anything in the playoffs. They also were number 20 in first down run efficiency, which is another red flag. So we look at the run defense. We look at the run offense in critical situations. We look at separation, dead last for the 49ers. So that's the wideout core. That's the entire pass offense. Extends the play calling as well. And we look at special teams, which was dead last in the league. The 49ers, if they can improve every single one of those pillars, will be a better football team in 2025, period. If you have a better run offense, if you have a better run defense, if you have better special teams, and if you have better separation, you will be better in 2025. The point is that it's not that hard to be better when you were so bad at those things last season. You were bottom barrel in those 4 things. So these people are pretending that the defense was good against the run with Malik Collins and Leonard Floyd in there. These people that are pretending that, and this is a lot of the national media, right? It's not people covering the team closely from a local level, but pretending that the defense was good, pretending that the run offense was good with Aaron Banks at left guard, even though they literally ranked second to last in the league and number 20 in the league on first down runs. So pretending that the offense was good where it had to be, pretending that the defense was good where it had to be, those are fantasies. People pretending that the special teams was good last year, that's also crazy to me. That special teams was the worst in the league. So, and then, acting like the separation was good with Deebo Samuel in there at wide receiver and with Brandon Ayuk out and not playing well even when he was in, that's also insanity. You can't, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So if the 49ers ran back the same team as they did in 2024 and expected things to be better than bottom barrel at those 4 key pillar points, they were going to be sorely disappointed. They had to clean house of the inefficiency, keep the efficiency. And when I go back to the roster, the efficiency, or at least the potential of it moving forward, is highlighted in yellow at the A-list spots. Then you have to build things around those guys that makes sense from a roster building perspective. And that's what the Rams did. They've done it successfully. I think the Eagles have done that on the defensive side of the ball. That's been successful. It all comes back down to the NFL draft where the 49ers have those 11 picks. Maybe they trade down to get even more. The Rams had 14 picks in that draft 2 seasons ago. According to Adam Schefter, this is a good way to close up our 49ers alarm update to wake you up on this morning. After being released by the 49ers, free agent Pro Bowl fullback Kyle Juszczyk is meeting today with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So all the best to Kyle Juszczyk. Maybe he's headed back to the AFC North. Remember, he started his career with the Baltimore Ravens. Juszczyk in Pittsburgh could fit. I think that the AFC North has a certain brand of football that might be more conducive to signing a fullback in this day and age. 49ers obviously playing some adaptable football, so the fullback like Juszczyk, who's been so versatile, was so good for them for so many years. They've moved on to tight end Luke Farrell to execute a lot of the blocks that Juszczyk was asked with executing over the past several seasons. Anyway, this is your 49ers alarm update. I know it's longer today than before, but we had to get into the fact that no, Brock Purdy's status is not affected by Mac Jones at all. And any take suggesting so is absolutely idiotic. That's the main point. That's your update. We'll talk to you soon.